How to be a manly man in a world you have been left alone. I'm speaking to men. You've been left alone. I want to tie it into you can knock a girl up and you could be in love. You could have lived with her for 2 or 3 years, or you could have met her that night. Either way, there she is pregnant. You're the father. You could think, yay, good. I'm happy. Yay, I'm sad. Or not yay, I'm sad. But you really are waiting on the woman. The man, in this man's world, it's been turned upside down where it used to be something that worked until we had men and women raising families until we got till now, where that pregnant woman could say, you have to pay for the abortion or something like that. Even if you don't want the abortion. Or she could say, well, you got me pregnant, and now you're going to support this child until it's 18 years old. And by the way, I'm now in love with Tim or Jim or fill in the blank. She doesn't have to stay with you, and most likely she will not. The statistics are she will not. So the man is left, to be taught in school how much power they have always had over the women like that. I want to lead a nonviolent uprising with an intent to survive on their own without involving themselves with the world, with the nations of this world. The burden of proof has been met. The mud flood was Armageddon. This started 2015, 2016 in my mind at that Flat Earth. I had a channel called Alan Flat Earth. It went to FinDap, then FinGap, Flat Earth Nation, Golden Age past. God used me in that work to make the world what it is now, where we have more than a few people who realize they've added 1,000 years. We're in the short season. The Bible was written with words like phonics, and when it said, we who are alive and remain, it was talking to them then. And we can look back and we understand that's been why I feel like I'm more of a John the Baptist than a Moses. This is something that's written on our heart. Now, we are one day closer to that white throne of judgment, that great white throne of judgment, where our works will be judged. You see, you're called, you're chosen, you're elect. From before the foundation of the world, it says you've been given, works that you're supposed to do. You have certain talents, you have certain abilities, and it's up to you to do it. All the parables talk about somebody's been left in charge. That's you. How are you doing? Is he going to find you waiting at the gate, or are you going to be off doing those bad things? We will be judged by our works. If you feel no responsibility to work for the Lord, it is because there is no, here I am, send me in you. And that could be the problem. Had a video taken down today. Trying to get it back up. I need to show my disclaimer. This part of the thing that saved me today. Look at all that. Diligent, systematic, fair use. I'm not trying to make any money, or even if I was, I wouldn't want to infringe on anybody's intellectual property. Not that it's not all over the news that some people think that Google has gone way too far with their YouTube censorship, but their claim is that we had to do it this way. So there is the screen status overview. Did it do? So it did fix it. I had 12 seconds on the video this morning. Start of art husbandry, Garden of Delights and Press, I guess. They didn't want to hear the part about what was that? I can make your hand claps, but I got the message across. It's not that great of a video anyway. 100 people or so watched it, but the thing is, I tried to tie it into if they can make your hands clap, what else can they do? They can do just about anything. They can manipulate us. We are all products before we were, activated by that Holy Spirit of, our intelligence, the level of propaganda that fits us. Some people, they don't care. They just don't care. You're never going to explain to somebody on the wide road. So is this it? It can't be it. I know I had more than that. That was one from this morning that didn't get it. The magnetic poles, somebody's saying that the magnetic poles, this guy makes a lot of these videos, got a lot of subscribers. He talks about, read these old books. They say one of the magnetic poles is in Siberia. The other is in the northern part of America. The line of greatest intensity is near the shores of Lake Superior. Green Bay. I think, Lake Superior, Door County, Sault Ste. Marie. Yeah, that's what it is. They're Canadian, Sault Ste. Marie. It's got to be that. That is America. Somebody else putting out a new timeline. You are here. Just another one. 196 subscribers, because it is. The world's changed. Everybody's got to figure this out now. But, here we go again with, at least he has the Bible verse we'll look at later. This group will be immortal and not have children. He's saying that the raptured saints return. He makes a special box. And thankfully, he gives one of the, rare people that gives a Bible verse for this insanity, So we'll pull that up and look at it. It doesn't have anything. It's not talking about the raptured saints at all. At all. It's completely out of context. But, they can throw that out there and, work on different calendars that other people have made for the theory the Lord has shown through this ministry. And there's no doubt about it. It's time to get on board with, yeah, we're right. You are here. You can forget some of this other stuff. You are here. We're waiting on the great white throne. And there's no Trinity. That's right. The earth's flat and there's no Trinity. And you got to get on board with that. You need to look into it, because that's what it's coming down to. See here, they didn't like that I had 20 seconds, not even, of I can make your hand clap. They had the no impact for the walker. I played a little bit more of that. Same thing, the video was blocked in Belarus and Russia, so they probably didn't want to see it anyway. Needed something for this crazy video. So irrational number. I looked up what's the square root of 2. And the square root of 2 is an irrational number. It cannot be expressed. Why the square root of 2 is irrational? I guess we get it. The square root of 2 is irrational. Wait, the square root of 2 is closer to 3 than it is to 4. So if you add, well, we should just wait till we get to the Wikipedia because this is getting too crazy. The Wikipedia says here, and they show a 1 unit and a 1 unit, the square root of 2, approximately 1.4142, is the positive real number that, when multiplied by itself or squared, equals the number 2. No, it doesn't. How does that number multiplied by itself? We know what a square root is. Yeah. It's the square root of 9. 3. 3 times 3 is 9. It's an easy one. This is not going to work. So when they say that they have the square root of 4 is 2, how did you get there? You should be able to add up the square root of 2 and it would double it and it'll be 4. But this is not. This is not. If you double that, it's like not 4. Dead horse, I'll beat it. Beat it. But I don't want to have to eat it. So let's just keep rolling here. Hey, Kenny, blessings from Oklahoma. I'm glad you dodged a few of those tornadoes. You better watch out. Stay away from Oklahoma City. I think that's on the Lord's hit parade. Doesn't it sound like I just got a glitch in my throat? Hey, Upgrade John, I was hoping you'd show up late. I got the whole Australia thing on my thing, and I've got a manly man title. What's up with that? You know, a guy can get a girl pregnant in this world, and supposedly men are in charge. But she can have an abortion, even if you want the child. Or she can say, no, you're going to pay me child support for 18 years. And by the way, I love Jimmy or Timmy or Kevin, whoever. She's moving out from you. And that's the men got all the power in this world. We need to talk. We need to talk, man. So let's see what the tabs I had pulled up with, because I have to admit, this was late to the show. So Pythagoras, anyway, you know his famous math, his triangle. The square root of 2, approximately 1.4, is a positive real number when multiplied by itself. No, that's supposed to say it equals 2. And they just laid out that doesn't. And since the Greeks had to develop something to work around it, sometimes they used 99 over 70. That's almost 1.412, because that's not the square root of 2. You can't double that. They even got a sequence that they call this. The online encyclopedia of integral sequences consists of digits and decimal. In the Babylonian days, what they do, they gave an approximation of the square root of 2. Because I guess there is no square root of 2. There is only one God. We can't lock into this base 10 math. Please. Why would we still have to use remnants of sextimal of, base 60 seconds? You know what I mean? 60 seconds. Base 20. Base 12. 12 hours a day. This is the good math. But when you're just locked in and say, we've discovered how to get to the moon using, well, anyway, you get it. I'm not beating this dead horse. I'm just staying up late to let you know that you are already a holy nation. which is why we don't need to be a part of any nation. We're already in a nation. You're a chosen race. You're a royal priest. That's what they were being encouraged to believe, that the stone of stumbling, a rock of offense, they stumbled because they disobeyed the word. Uh-oh. And to this they were appointed. But not the Gentiles, not the people who believed, not the few Hebrews that made it. They were a chosen people, a royal priesthood, proclaim the virtues of him day and night, who called us out of darkness into his marvelous light. If you must be born again, I ask you, did you go to a Christian rally and get born the first time? No, because that's not how you do it. You were just born. Your parents had something to do with it. And you don't remember the first year, 2 years, some of you 5 years. I have some vague, sketchy memories, but I'm not going to be like, oh, I knew what happened when I was 2. Oh, but I know I can look back now and realize that there's a chosen generation and a royal priesthood who were ready to die. And it wasn't what the mainstream Hebrews were teaching. I'm going to roll on here. Okay, 47 subscribers, 42 views in 4 days. I searched this BACWA specifications because what does that have to do with relationships with indigenous peoples?
The darker side, of course.
Yeah. Can't shy away from that.
How British economic policies often hindered local industries
A system that ultimately benefited Britain.
at the expense of India's own growth.
Precisely.
Then we'll shift our focus to South Africa.
Where diamonds and gold weren't just glittering treasures.
Oh no, they were much more than that.
They were catalysts for conflict.
And we can't.
Oh wow, you can see what a great banter they have. Where's that other one? Oh, doing it already. Anyway, I showed one earlier today. Was it this one? Yeah. Vacuum levitation, motion control. They have Science Talks, 1 subscriber, 8 views. It was just put out the other day. Nobody liked it. And it is the podcast generated by artificial intelligence. I think they sound just like the people. Compare it to the people that we're hearing here, you know?
Fascinating. Think of optical trapping. Like, imagine using light, but like a tiny invisible tractor beam to hold something so small you couldn't even see it.
A microscopic tractor beam.
Exactly.
I love it. Okay, so they're trapping these nanoparticles. What's the setup look like?
So picture this. A miniature
Local industries
a system that ultimately benefited Britain.
at the expense of India's own growth.
Precisely.
Then we'll shift our focus to South Africa.
Where diamonds and gold weren't just glittering treasures.
Oh no, they were much more than that. Direct British rule.
That's right.
The mutiny marked the end of company rule in India.
The British government stepped in, determined to assert its control.
Prevent future uprising.
Miniature stage, like unbelievably small, obviously. That's our chip.
Okay.
And the chip's got 2 main parts. You've got your photonic layer, and then there's the electric layer.
So the photonic layer, that's our tractor beam, right? The spotlight that holds the nanoparticle.
You got it. That's the optical trapping in action.
Yeah.
But the really clever bit, that's the electric layer. That's like our behind-the-scenes crew.
Keeping everything running smoothly.
Exactly.
Exactly. I think that, you know, I mean, they're like, who are these people? What is that symbol that they're showing? What does this even mean? You know? BACWA specification. What does that mean? Oh, shit. It's a thing. You can level up on it. I guess they got classes with the AI. You sign up and you take their class and you learn all about our history. Not from me. She took it. They got a study guide for it. roll up your sleeves. Anybody, anybody want to get taught by AI? It sounds like AI to me. Future proofing the other business speak. Well, you just proved you know how to do it. So, I was just like, I think I should tell people that. I think that they're rewriting the history right before our eyes. They're leaving stuff out, What was that on the back wall? We could read all of that. Free coffee, donuts, now it's just D-O. Where's the black people? Who knows what's going on in this world? I'm closing that one. Look at it. Major League, Jeremiah's unexpected promise to Israel. Look at the money spent here. This is Willow Creek. And you can go, anybody can go. Willow Creek is right there in Barrington, South Barrington, Illinois, right by Arlington Heights, where we had the largest Christian homeschool, and God put me there to find out, wow, it was sponsored by the CIA and the John Birch Society. They bought this school for us, and now we're brainwashing children into American history. Not that homeschooling shouldn't be used. It's the only way you can teach your kids good stuff. But you got to leave out the American history that teaches manifest destiny and that the United States could do no wrong. That's why they did it. They needed people that could add, read, and write, but they had to be programmed into the belief that America was a manifest destiny, the light on the hill, which it is not. The bad guys. So we got some more videos to look at. We're right there. So we looked them up. I guess I had them looked up already. There's their music. So don't trust them. And this guy, so we have Willow Creek, Christian Liberty Academy satellite system, homeschool, largest in the world. And then popped up Walk in the Word, the Harvest Bible Chapel. That was just right down the street. And they're, so that these people could have a place to go, send their children to school. When I got promoted to varsity coach, the head, James McDonald, walking the world, the gambling man. At least he didn't go chasing the girls. He just got into gambling. I think that's a point for him. Sad point, but a point. But we were all right there within 15 miles of each other. I think that just makes it easy logistics in the suburbs of Chicago. We were. So here, I don't even know what he's yapping about.
Worried about the loss of freedom with things like facial surveillance and recognition. I just had one of my students at Calvin Seminary come back. He's Chinese, and he just got married.
Well, I had an old professor, I forget his name, Harold Schallenberg or something like that, when I was going to Lakeview Presbyterian, and he really was a rocket scientist, and he teaches at Calvin, and he was trying to teach us about red shift as a form of creation. It was weird.
To an American young woman. They went to China, and he had uncertainty. In fact,
I didn't
the
do
New York
that.
Times just said last week, another 08 is right around the corner.
What?
Oh, good. Other people think about wealth distribution in the United States when 1% of the population owns what they do. Other people are worried about the loss of freedom with things like facial surveillance and recognition. I just had one of my students at Calvin Seminary come back. He's Chinese, and he just got married to an American young woman. They went to China, and he hadn't been back for a couple of years, and he was shocked. He got off the plane, and the first thing he saw was a camera. And they were doing facial recognition everywhere he went, into a mall, onto a train, into a store. He could be tracked for every one of his movements all day in China. Well, I'm glad that'll never happen in America. So I ask myself, then these are lies to you that will only serve to remove you far from your lands. I will banish.
Look at the picture in the background. Full baseball game. And they had black leagues and white leagues. Fenway Park is what it looks like, maybe Yankee Stadium. Gonna tell you the Earth's not flat. Trust the Jesuits and their globe. You can love the Lord and everything's going to be okay. That's just a coincidence. All of those three big ministries, all I believe set up by the CIA and the John Birch Society, they all tell the same thing: stack silver. You know, you'll be okay. Just stack silver. You live in the city, stack silver. If you the Arlington Heights and Barrington, you know, you might as well be in Chicago. So anyway, here's how he gets going, and he gets. Let's see what he
Peace
got.
on earth. He's not going to let those people all of a sudden. He's just going to go one day. Okay, I guess time's up. Time for Satan to take over a bit. You mortals have fun. I'll see you on the other side. Adios, amigos. No, he's not going to do that. So even though it doesn't say it in the Bible, and I usually like to stick with just what's in the Bible, but because it's not mentioned at that exact moment when the millennial kingdom ends and Satan's little season starts, he doesn't say what he does with all the people who were alive here at that time, followers or unfollowers.
Well, you think that I don't know. What are you saying?
So I think it's reasonable that we can deduce that he took those followers with him. He took them with him to the beloved city. And that explains, and the reason, I got a little,
And that's going right back to Shelley from the homeschool girl of not understanding what's going on. Let's look at that Matthew. The one verse that he gave that proves that this group will be immortal and not have any children, but they're going to live for the whole 1,000 years, maybe up there at the North Pole. That's what they're implying. Well, let's look at it. For in the resurrection, they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are like the angels in heaven. Okay. Is that what he's talking about? The people in the didn't take the mark of the beast or something? Or is it just somebody trying to trip him up with, what is the real problem? The Judaizers they were following a construct that wasn't the Bible. They had their oral traditions and their Talmud, and that's what the Bible just hates. Trying to tell Jesus that he, what he can and can't do on the Sabbath. He is the Sabbath. Oh, they can take a donkey if it falls in the ditch out on the Sabbath, but he can't heal a man who's born blind. Anyway, they tried to trick him up with this. Sadducees tried to trick him with a question. 7 brothers, they all died, and and then they all were going to try to raise up a son for the original offspring, and therefore whose wife shall she? Well, they're playing dumb. She was always one person's wife, the dead one. They weren't looking for whose wife she was going to be. She was not their wife when they had sex with her. That's why he could just tell them point blank, you're wrong. Because you know neither the scriptures nor the power of God. Because in the resurrection, and which one? The first resurrection or the general resurrection at when the dead in Christ will be, hey, this is a great white throne of judgment. What's up? In either one of those resurrections, they neither marry or are given in marriage, but they're like the angels in heaven. For as the resurrection of the dead, have you not read what it is said? I am the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. He's not the God of the dead, but of the living, which is why you should continue to try to honor your father and mother. They're not dead either. So what was this? This what I've been listening to, I guess. Got a lot of flooding going on out there. So we got the okay, so I did have it queued up on a time.
I'll show you where I'm going with this, is there was so much evidence of cities, entire cities that were abandoned. They're empty. When photographic technology started becoming more prevalent in the 19th century, we start seeing the first photographs of these massive cities that look like they hold millions of people. You can tell by the infrastructure.
Yeah, I don't remember the last time I got 58 thumbs up. Almost 1,000 views with this, but you know, he's just spitting out Shelley. The Nephilim are clowns. I don't know, but it could be they're on a canoe up there at the North Pole on a hollow Earth because Jules Verne said so.
And the way it's built out in the background, there's not a soul
Let's
inside.
go back to that
few
one
people
spot, I
affected.
think.
Well, that's fine. Obviously, there's lots of horrific history to go along and to sort of back that up. Certainly wasn't, millennial kingdom type stuff where there's peace and tranquility and love and joy and happiness. So what went on and what happened in the 1800s? What's changed? So this is sort of a working theory that just sort of hit me recently, that let's say the millennial kingdom ended 1,000 years ago. Satan was loosed, and he immediately then took over the church, which the Catholic Church, as we know it today, prior to Satan taking over or being released, may have been the true church. That's why it's so powerful to this day and has so many.
So that's some pretty strong Trinitarian ISIS worship sympathy right there.
So much evidence in the form of its buildings and its art that it's been here for a while, and there's probably more to that story than we know. But when Satan took it over and he hijacked the church and created the whole Pope system, the purgatory system, a whole bunch of stuff that is non-biblical, and then completely corrupted it and used it as more of a military weapon than a tool for saving souls and winning souls for Christ. Let's say he did that 1,000 years ago. But here's the thing which we got to start with.
Here we go.
Who was left alive on Earth at the end of the millennial kingdom? And I don't believe it's reasonable to make the assumption that anybody who was mortal and who was alive at that time when the millennial kingdom ended and Jesus and his saints went to the beloved city, wherever that is, possibly the North Pole. That's a different topic. And then, but the mortals who were here, some were followers of God and some were not. It's not reasonable to think that the followers of God were allowed to travel into Satan's little season, and all of a sudden Satan takes over and he just starts, creating all kinds of mayhem and absolutely.
He wanted to deceive the nation, so he had to start nations. We can see from, the way it started in 1711, where I believe, if you go back from 9/11, 290 years, you're at 7/11, and you see city-states, 3,000 in Bavaria that were city-states that needed to be talked into. No, we're German. And those other 25,000 islands, where we're Japanese or we're Polynesian, everybody had to have an island. We're the Filipinos. That's the mess up.
Punishing these people. God would not do that. He's not going to go from a period where the wolf will lay down with the lamb and they'll beat their spears into plowshares, and there'll be no more tears and all kinds of.
Okay. I know he's young and new, but you can't say that he's going to go from that time of, where they're going to be ruled with a rod of iron. And then there'll be, did he just say that there'll be no cheer? Yeah, there'll They'll beat their spears into plowshares, and there'll be no more tears. Okay, well, that's not in the millennial reign. That's after. That's chapter 21, when the new heavens and new earth come down. For the first heaven and the first earth, they just got done with Revelation 20, verses 11 through 14. It's great white throne judgment. Then, sees what's passed away, the seas no more. Saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband, with a loud voice from the throne, saying, Behold, the dwelling place of God is with man. He will dwell with them, and they will be his people, and God himself will be with them as their singular God. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. That's when that happens. It's after this, when you're going to be judged by what you've done. That is what it comes down to. Like, you're judged by what they have been done. If your name's in the book of life, you're saved by grace, and then you're judged by what you have done. If you've been given certain talents and responsibilities, and you just said, I don't have to do it because somebody told me I didn't have to do it. Works are for losers. What does it say? Even they're going to be judged according to their works. That's the King James. New King James, they're going to be judged according to their works, according to their deeds. Same thing, right? According to their deeds. Whatever they had done, they're going to get judged for. You're already saved, but you're still getting judged. Because, come on. Some 30, some 60, some 90, 100. And he expects the 100 to act like 100. So some of the people that went through that AQA training, these actors, they've met the qualifications. I've heard of some of them. The famous Harry Potter's on there. You want to teach that AQA computer generated version of the history.
Can't forget about Cecil Rhodes.
Yes,
A
Rhodes,
figure whose ambition, it knew no bounds.
and whose influence stretched across both of these regions.
It's
Yeah,
fascinating.
it just sounds. Here's what they do. They give tests. You can be qualified to start your own AI website or something. But famous people take these classes and they love it. Wow, 1 million students set in their qualifications in those small countries in Great Britain. I wonder what they're doing around the world. Who knows? Well, I doubled up on that one. It seems like they started that group as an offshoot of the Stop Human Traffic Modern Slavery Act of 2015. The Modern Slavery Act is an act of Parliament of the United Kingdom to design the modern slavery in the UK. Dang, who would have thought that would rear its ugly head again? Human trafficking. And then there's people like me I've heard some of the rumors about the cannibalism and adrenochrome drinkers, and they work their way up in politics. Let's just look at it briefly. Combat modern slavery. Who knew? An estimated today, 38 million people. Because it's out of control. I know a lot of people are wage slaves. They are even in prison and they still have to go to work. Sex slaves, you read about that in the paper all the time. human trafficking, forced prostitution, child marriage. What a world. Oh my goodness. We got that covered. Battling modern slavery. Okay. Current systems of outsourced recruitment and management of foreign migrant workers often put employees at risk of forced labor and human trafficking. People hire them. People come over. This is a contrived, situation. This looks like a hot spot. Cobalt, so they can make fake nuclear bombs. The conflict affected and high risk areas. The Congo, so that has 0.8% of the slaves in the world. I wonder where the big slaves are. Not too many in Cambodia. Oh, China. Oh my goodness. India. What are you doing with all the slaves, India? What is up with that? Nepal, Bangladesh. More than 1,000 workers died in 2013. They were making clothes for importers worldwide. Wow. Wow. There's one. Looks like North Korea, Uzbekistan, Cambodia, India. Good thing the United States doesn't have a lot of slaves. Who knows what's going on in the border down there? I've heard that they have gangs that are just like drugging children, taking them over the border, and they're just like going, okay, you can have them. They're yours now. The Modern Slavery Act, we looked at that. Swedish sex purchase ban. It's all up in the air right now. At a time when the Bible used to talk about virginity being highly prized. So are we changing the world? Water. Now we have renewed our interest in water some time ago. And I mean, he had to have been planning on going to this. I just think water is so important. What do you got going, Mr. Hacker? Prince Hacker? This isn't dead air.
Does that mean you're off?
Red spectrum, and the LED light, you get this major spike in the blue light, which tells our brain that basically it's dawn or sunrise or midday. And then fluorescent has this spike in the yellow band as well.
Water,
but
light.
There was electricity involved in stimulating this vortex.
I'm glad I'm all signed up.
And they discovered that tornadoes with thunder lights broke down certain chemicals, and they combined it with the vortexing of Walter Schauber to get all the particles on the.
It's time to be fascinated with water again,
He's using this kind of water, like they don't like it or something.
I think he noticed a die off of that particular muscle after
does it matter if it's man-made climate change or we're under God's judgment? Something's happening and it doesn't end well. What do they got?
Filling on a regular basis, you want to be supplementing with
distillation.
Mineralize it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I'm sure they're going to talk about health, and it's something I want you to consider too. You know, you are the temple of God. Let's see. You know, what did they teach?
Together, and breaking bread in their homes, they received their food with glad and generous hearts, praising God and having favor with all the people. And the Lord added to their number day by day those who were being saved.
How'd they live?
Crooked generation. So those who received his word were baptized, and there were added that day about 3,000 souls. And they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and fellowship, to the breaking of bread and the prayers. And awe came upon every soul, and many wonders and signs were being done through the apostles. And all who believed were together and had all things in common. And they were selling their possessions and belongings, and distributing the proceeds to all as any had need. And day by day, attending the temple together, and breaking bread in their homes, they received their food with glad and generous hearts, praising God, and having favor with all the people. And the Lord added to their number day by day.
That part about having all things in common. So, you know, you just have to deal with what they get. Sometimes they're going to ban you, but in the long run, the word of God is going to go out. There is no doubt that the end was written from the beginning. We have the right theology. We have the right cosmology. It's a flat earth nation. The golden age is past because mud flood was Armageddon. Me and my friends are never going to tell you anything else because we have no reason to lie to you. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao. Sayonara.